morning, and I figured I would hop on here and talk to you all how I went from Amish to being a truck driver. Growing up on an Amish farm, we lived on a state route. We saw a lot of these trucks going up and down the highway. I used to stand out there by the apple tree and throw apples, just watch them glance off the side of semi-trailers. But I always doubted that I could do such a thing. So I left the Amish when I turned 18. And started getting and searching for jobs that I could immediately get my feet on the ground and get going. I had no social security number, and so it was hard to get just any job. So while in the process of trying to get my social security number, I'm from an old order Amish group where they didn't allow any government ties or anything to do with the government, so we couldn't have any government assistance or any social security number or nothing like that. So I was able to get me a job at the local pallet shop for a little bit, but then I got me a factory job through a company called Product Action. Later, they went bankrupt when the economy went real bad during the recession, 2008. But I was able to get hired in without a high school diploma, without a GED, and just my Amish 8th grade education. And I literally wrote that down on the application. And they hired me anyway. And I was so thankful for that because they were the only company at that time that called me back and said they're going to give me a chance. And so they knew that I had listed that I left the Amish. And they knew that I had listed that I do not have a high school diploma, no GED, that I only have an Amish 8th grade education. So I did some quality control work. This company did sorting parts, quality control for automotive. And we went from state to state sometimes, staying in motel rooms, sorting parts for Honda, Toyota, GM, Ford, Nissan, all automotive. We did it all. And then I was out on the floor sorting parts one day in 2008. And it was Friday the 13th of all days. And they said, hey, we're going to have to leave here. We're going bankrupt. And I'm thinking, do what? I left the Amish. This is my only job I could get without a high school diploma, without a GED, without a birth certificate, without any kind of schooling except for Amish 8th grade. And I remember feeling kind of lost. What am I going to do now? But I'm so glad it happened. Because I walked, I'm going to get out of the truck. It's a little hot in here. So I went to the local resources in that county. And I said these words. I filled out for unemployment. The recession was bad. Everybody was getting laid off, it seemed like, at that time. And I remember I walked in there. I'm desperate. When I want something and I set goals, I go after it. That's the way I was raised. Very good work ethic, growing up Amish. So I walked in there, and this lady at the counter, she says, how can I help you? And I said, look, I just got laid off, and I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't even have a GED. What do you have? I believe it was called One Stop or something like that, where they have like job opportunities and stuff like that. But anyway, she says, well, here you can go to school for this and this and this and this. And she said, police officer, firefighter, STNA, nursing. I mean, she mentioned all of this stuff, truck driving, all kinds of stuff. And then I said this. Coming from the Amish, I don't think I could do any of the ones you just mentioned, but I'm willing to try it. And I remember she looked at me like, what? And I said, what is the highest demanding job right now? Because the economy went to crap. Everybody seems to be laying off. I said, right now, currently, what's the highest demanding job and the highest paying job that is available? Whatever that is, I'll try it. And I thought she was going to say like a cop, police officer or nursing or something like that. But she literally said driving truck was the highest demanding job at that time. And guess what? That's why I'm a truck driver today. And so I wanted to talk about that, how I went from Amish to driving a semi truck, because everything happens for a reason. And when I got laid off, I was devastated, but yet I'm glad, looking back, I'm glad I got laid off, because when she said driving semi-truck was the highest demanding job, I figured I would give it a try. I doubted myself. I doubted I'd be able to do it, but I was willing to go give it a shot. And I want to share this because when I was in the classroom and was going to school at Apollo Career Center in Lima, Ohio, I was there every day. During the classroom and when we went out on the road trying to drive these things and had to manually shift through all them gears, and I was struggling like crazy, but I was there every day. I was struggling. But here's what stands out to me. Out of the whole group that was there, there were multiple people. They didn't show up every day. They didn't show up every day, which just, it shows the dedication Paul trying to come in there. The dedication in people and how bad you want something. If you set goals and you want something and you go after it, like my brother Melvin, when he left the Amish, he says, I'm going to be a cop. And he went after it, and he's a cop. He's not only a cop today, he's a K-9 drug task force, and even on the SWAT team, there's no stopping this kid. He's got goals. He goes to the top. He's probably going to be a sergeant someday, maybe a chief. I don't know. But the dedication and the willingness and just wanting to be successful and making something of your life, when I look back at that, I can only give the Amish lifestyle credit for the hard work ethic and being dedicated and sticking in with something and not giving up. And that's why I want to share this. I want to encourage people today to never give up. Never give up. Whatever you want in life, go after it. Don't just doubt yourself and say, well, I can't do that. I can't. No, I doubt that I could do that. Well, you never know until you try it. I doubted that I could drive one of these all of my life, growing up on an Amish farm, watching semi-trucks go down the highway. And yet I have now been driving one of these for almost 15 years with almost 2 million miles under my belt. Who would have thought I would go from a horse and buggy to a worldly 18-wheeler buggy? So I get out there, and Garner Trucking out of Findlay, Ohio, and they gave me my first job, and I go with a trainer and all of that, and I'm still struggling. But it took time. Practice makes perfect. You just go out there and you keep doing it until you're good at it. And now I have a home daily job. I don't have to worry about over the road anymore. But there was also struggles. There's also a lot of things I didn't know. There's a lot of things, finding shippers and receivers. And there's a lot of crazy people out on the highway. All of those things were things that I had to learn along the way. And it was my decision to overcome all of those things and become a better person and not allow those things to control me or discourage me, to give up. Because the group I went to school with for CDL school, only a fraction of us are actually still driving semi-truck. There was a person from that one-stop job opportunities that called me back probably 5 years after I was driving semi-truck, and they were doing a study of how many people in my group were still doing what they went to school for. And so what we found out was only 3 of us were driving truck out of the entire class. So that just shows, like, some of them tried it. Some of them failed miserably on finding addresses, trying to figure out where to go, and they just throw in the towel, ready to give up. Well, I failed the test. A couple of them did fail the test. Instead of sticking with it and restudying and try it again, it's easy just to quit and go back to what you were doing before or whatever. Me, I don't give up very easy. I'm a stubborn yoder, a thick-skulled yoder. If I want something, I'm gonna get it. So, and then I hit the road, guys. And I'm over the road. I'm in a sleeper truck, and I'm going from state to state, just loving the scenery and loving life. And then I realized that there's this thing called Lot lizards. What's a lot lizard? Okay. I'm sitting in my sleeper truck one night at a truck stop in Memphis, Tennessee, and I can't get no sleep. They're knocking on my door, and they're trying to, get me to pay them. They want to make some money. And I remember I thought, these poor people, I mean, they have nothing else to live for. And then I got over there, I was over in, what was that, Knoxville at the Petro truck stop. The same thing happened. I got to get out of this guy's way. I got over at the Knoxville truck stop, and the same thing happened. And I realized that it's a huge problem. I never really knew much about it, but leaving the Amish, not being educated on stuff like that, it broke my heart how many I was running into. When I was over the road, I ran into a lot of areas, including Benton Harbor, Michigan, the pilot truck stop there off of I-94 and 196 close by there. That truck stop was the same way. You couldn't sleep at all. I stayed away from that truck stop because I had in one night 6 different prostitutes wake me up to try to make money. And one night I just told the one, I said, here, be blessed, and took I gave her $20 just to leave me alone. But stuff like that I learned along the way. Stuff that I've learned by being a truck driver and going out there, and things I've learned in different states. All of these things I was able to learn along the way and meet different people. And that's why I love being a truck driver. So in this video, I just wanted to encourage all of you guys. I came from Amish to being a truck driver. And if you have any goals or any dreams, if you doubt that you could be something or do something or this job or that job, stop doubting. Go after your goals and don't never give up. Tell yourself, I'm going to try it anyway, even if it looks like I couldn't do it. I was in the classroom for my first whole week in CDL school, and I remember just the things they were telling us, the things they were teaching us. I thought, I know I got a government grant to pay for this $5,000 4-week class, but I'm going to stick it out. But right now in the classroom, it seems as if the things what I'm hearing, there ain't no way I can do that. They were laying down the map and showing us how to measure mile by mile and how to get to the truck stop before you run out of time, how to preserve your time, and how to read a map and all of that. I come from the Amish. I drove a horse and buggy. How am I supposed to figure this stuff out? And so, guys, it was overwhelming. But I made up my mind at that time that it doesn't matter how overwhelming, how much I have to learn, I'm going to stick it out. And since I chose to stick it out and show up and be dedicated every single day and come to school every single day, I started slowly memorizing this stuff. And after just 1 week, they send us into the Bureau of Motor Vehicles to take the online, like the written test, they call it. And I remember as I sat there, and all those questions were popping up, like 50 of them, and you got to get like 90% or 80, whatever percent. And as those questions started popping up on the test, I was like, oh yeah, I remember them talking about that. Oh yeah, I remember them talking. So then I realized, all that classroom that seemed overwhelming, how am I going to remember all that? It was coming back to me. And I was able to answer all those questions because I heard it over and over and over during that whole classroom week. And I got 100% on my test. That is why I want to encourage all of you. Anything you want to do in life, give it your all. Don't doubt yourself. Don't doubt your self-worth of who you can be, of who you want to be. And then don't let other people tell you that you can't be a policeman, that you can't be a truck driver, that you can't be a nurse, that you can't be a doctor, that you can't be something. Because you can. I had 5 people that were heavily influenced in my life at that time tell me, Eli, you come from the Amish, you got a lot to learn. Why would you go and be a truck driver? You know you can't do that. I had a lot of people that I looked up to at that time tell me, there's no way you're going to be able to do that, and you can't drive truck. You have to do a pre-trip inspection and a post-trip inspection on these rigs. And I found out that was true. In school, in the classroom, I was very discouraged when I realized the list had 125 different points of inspection that I have to point out to the DOT on test day of what I gotta inspect on the truck and the trailer in order to safely proceed out onto the road. I have to check all of these things, and I have to tell them what that is in order to pass the test. That seemed very overwhelming, but what did I do? I went home from school every night, and I had a paper in front of me, and I would study every point of inspections. The brakes, the tires, the steer tires, 430 seconds. I still remember that because I check it every day right now. The trailer tires, 230 seconds. The pitman arm, all stuff I've never heard of. No crack, no bent, no leaking. Got to check your belts. Got to check everything. The head gaskets, make sure they're not leaking. I had to start memorizing this on the paper. Then I read it off to my wife. When I read it off to my wife, I got to where I could memorize the entire sheet, all 125 inspection points. Test day rolled around, and there was a retired Ohio State trooper that was assigned to me. And then now I'm nervous. I'm like, oh, he goes by the book. Oh, crap. But here's how his mind was blown, to the point where he interrupted me and stopped me, because he said, sir, you're not missing one point. You're going word for word by the paper. Now he stops me and he says, why would you check that? Why is that? You know what he was trying to do? He knew I had it memorized, so he's trying to get me off track, my thinking, to see if I still can come back where I left off. And I did. I came back where I left off. He told me after that test, he says, I just want you to know, young man, I've been doing this for 30 years, and I have never, ever had somebody that memorized, and I'm not bragging. It's just, I'm showing you the dedication when you make up your mind that you want something, you go after it. How bad do you want something? Because this man told me, he said, I have never, in the entire time I've been doing this, I have never had someone memorize in their head all the 125 inspection points on the semi-truck and the trailer. He goes, sir, you blew my mind. And so on the road test, I made a couple mistakes. I was struggling with shifting because I had never even shifted a car. I have never driven a manual. And so I coasted at one point where I got docked on some things and I made some mistakes. But he told me that day, he says, I couldn't fail you. I couldn't fail you because everything else, you blew it out of the ballpark. But he said, you're going to get very well at it and you're going to succeed just because of your determination. And at one point, when I was checking my mirrors and I was driving and both hands on the wheel, I was sweating so bad with nervousness that I took my hat off and threw it up at the windshield. And the officer looked at me and he says, why are you sweating? It's cold out here. I got a coat on and you're sitting there, you're drenched with sweat dripping off your chin. He said, I just want you to know, calm down. Because when you're nervous, that's when you mess up. And I said, oh, I'm trembling with nervousness. And then when we got back into the test site and he looked at me and paused for a minute and I said, oh no, did I fail? He goes, no, sir, you passed. And I almost jumped off of my top step of my semi-truck. There's 2 steps. Here, I'll show you. I'll show you what I almost did. See the 2 steps here? I was completely inside on the floor here, getting ready to leap all the way off, leap all the way down to the ground. And I stopped myself and I turned it around and grabbed the handle and did a 2-point, whatever they call it, holding on and stepping down. And he came around that truck and he said, young man, you almost failed. And I said, what? I almost failed. You just told me in the truck I passed. He goes, yeah, but you were not done yet until you got safely out of that truck with both hands being hold of the handle and backing down backwards for safety wise. He goes, that was your final check mark on this paper. And I said, what? He goes, yeah, if you'd have leaped off that truck with the door open without stepping on the steps and backing down properly, safely, he goes, I would have failed you and you would have literally failed. So guys, because the best advice I can give you if you're going to be a truck driver, When you're done and you have taken the test, don't jump out of your truck with joy when the tester says you have passed everything so far, because you're not done yet until you safely back down from the truck. You're hearing that from an Amish guy that left the Amish and became a truck driver. And that's my story, how I became, how I went from Amish to becoming a truck driver, from driving a horse and buggy to a worldly 18-wheeler. And you all have a blessed day.